Alright, hey guys, Pax here, welcome back to another weekly meta report. In this video, we're going to be going over several prominent decks from the second week of September. If you guys are new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing so you don't miss out on Pokemon Pocket content. And without further ado, let's get right into this video. So if this is your first weekly meta report on my channel, how this video usually goes, I'll be going over several top performing decks from tournaments in this week, kind of giving my takes, the pros and cons into using them. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to be using one of these decks in rank to see how it performs. This article was made by Pokemon Zone. I'll leave a link to the article in the description. Such a helpful website overall if you're into Pokemon Pocket. The first tournament we're going to be going over is Frog EX, Secluded Springs. Player count of 326. This is the pie chart showing which decks are the most popular. As you can see, yeah, Suicune, of course, is dominating this meta overall. Top 66, even more so. Darkrai kind of trying to compete. Starting out, Suicune was only more popular by around 7%. However, in top 66, as you can see, yeah, that's pretty huge. We got Guzzlord, Arceus also just clinging on to life, Espeon, Raichu, Flareon, Sylveon, and others. Looking at top 8, oh my gosh, this is pretty insane. Usually for top 8s in my previous weekly meta reports, it's usually pretty diverse. There's usually around 5 to 6 decks that make it top 8, but as you can see in this tournament, Suicune, 5 Suicune, 2 Darkrai, 1 Raichu. This kind of shows how dominant Suicune is in this meta. It's kind of crazy, but nevertheless, yeah, dude, this is a huge dub if you are a legendary dog fan, a Suicune fan, yeah. If you're that one guy who just, I forgot his name, but he's known to just kind of chase after Suicune. He's probably super happy right now, seeing how good this guy is. But yeah, the first deck we're going to be going over, this is the deck right here. As you can see, Suicune, Giratina, Greninja. These are requirements if you want to pause. Man, this deck is pretty consistent. This is pretty good because Suicune is amazing just as a card. Like ability-wise, amazing drawing capabilities. HP, okay. Currently, it's okay in this meta, but as future metas go on, we shall see. Especially if they add more cards that can just absolutely nuke. Like, I wouldn't be surprised a year from now if like power creep hits hard, and this guy can just easily get one-shotted. Like, if you think about it, I mean, this guy already can get one-shotted by Charizard, but in this meta, Charizard EX isn't really that prominent. And even with that, I mean, you could use Giant Cape to pair it with Suicune, making so that Suicune can't survive that. And also tap advantage. This guy does have tap advantage, so he could potentially 2-hit KO that Charizard EX. But yeah, just amazing synergy overall. I mean, Suicune max damage is 120. Not too crazy in my opinion, because I mean, it takes a bit of build up. You need to do 120, you need basically your whole board to be filled. But what makes this 10 times better is definitely Greninja. Pairing this with Greninja Cyrus, that's like an insane combo because yeah, if you guys don't know, for Greninja's ability, you can do 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, no matter if it's active, bench. So you can just target a bench Pokemon, Cyrus, Suicune. So max damage wise, you can do around 140 to 160. 140, the Suicune, max Suicune damage paired with Greninja, and then 160 if you have type advantage, of course. And you might be thinking it might be pretty hard to get Greninja out, but this is why Suicune is pretty goated because again, ability wise, you're drawing cards a lot faster than your opponent. So hopefully by then, on paper it sounds great because you have a higher chance to get rare candies, Greninjas, or Froakies, the cards you need. We also have Giratina right here. He's acting pretty much like a wall. You could act like a wall or just nuking your opponents, because keep in mind, Giratina paired with Greninja, you're doing 150, so you can very much nuke your opponents depending on the battle. It's really up to the scenario, because let's say you get Giratina out your first turn and you just get very bad luck and you can't get Suicune out. Giratina can pretty much be a wall, and on top of that, this guy could be a ticking time bomb, because whether you have him in your active, more so in your bench, you can just keep on getting him fed. And it kind of tells your opponent like, okay, in a couple of turns, this guy can get out and just do amazing, insane amount of damage. So yeah, it kind of applies a bit of mental pressure to your opponent. Overall, very good pairing. Next deck we have is Arceus, Darkrai, Komala, Magby, Pichu deck. All the requirements, a lot, as you can see. This is only going to get a lot bigger as the game goes on, just keep in mind. But yeah, this is the deck right here. Pretty good. I've actually went against this deck. It was in my previous video, I think. It was one of my battles. It was in my Jumpluff EX deck showcase. I believe I won. I think so. I don't know. I totally forgot. I have short-term memory loss. But yeah, this guy, very good. It's always good to see Arceus because this guy just always comes back. There's a lot of metas where like he's just not seen whatsoever, but then he just comes back several metas later. He's like a recurring character, not as consistent as Darkrai and Giratina, but he's still there. Again, Arceus, fan favorite Pokemon. So yeah, for this deck, you ideally want Arceus or Darkrai in your bench. Have Pichu and Magby out. Because keep in mind, Magby and Pichu work pretty well with Darkrai EX. Because if you look at this, as you can see, Darkrai EX requires one colorless. So this guy, in a way, is getting buffed by Magby and Pikachu, in a sense. So that's pretty good. And for Arceus, yeah, if you go second, then by your second turn, Arceus is just built. If you have baby Pokemon, turn 1. So very good. And yeah, of course, you want to get your backline just fully built to maximize Arceus damage. The only main downside is that if you are going against, of course, Suicune, that kind of benefits him as well, because of course if you're running Suicune, you want your opponent's backline to get built as much as possible as well. But to counteract that, we have Giant Cape. This deck right here isn't running Guzmas, and of course we have Komala just to counteract Oricorio, because as you can see here, defeating 2 energy does 70 damage. And with that, you could also pair Komala. And this is pretty good too, because as you can see, Komala requires 2 colorless. So of course, benefiting from Magby and Pichu. The only main downside is the ability right here. As long as this Pokemon is in an active spot, whenever you attach an energy from your energy zone, it is now asleep. So of course, you want to feed this guy in your bench. And of course, Darkrai. Yeah, Arceus is pretty good, but Darkrai can do some decent damage. There's that chip damage, as well as in a sense, buffing Arceus. Because I mean, yeah, of course, ability Nightmare Aura, doing 20 damage after being fed. So Arceus paired with Darkrai's ability can do 150. And then keep in mind, with red, you have 2 reds here. So you can do 170, one-shotting most EXs, especially the currently meta ones, like the dogs right here. Pretty frail. Darkrai EX, even with Giant Cape, getting one-shotted. All the evolutions, yeah, just getting absolutely demolished. All right, next deck we have is Pikachu EX. This is from Shining Revelry. Raikou, Tapu Koko, Zeraora. These are the requirements. And looking at this, this is pretty good. This deck is pretty offensive, and ideally you just want to get as fed as possible. You want to attack your opponent as fast as possible. Make sure you don't get built at all, because that's pretty much how I feel like the electric archetype really is. Like, you just want to get fast damage, make sure that you just mess up your opponent as much as you can. And I feel like this deck is pretty good. So as you can see, we have 3 EXs. Now, on paper, that looks pretty bad for Oricorio, and of course, to balance that out, you have Zeraora, which is also a pretty good energy support paired with Elemental Switch. Pretty good, but ideally for your game, you want to basically lead with Raikou EX or Tapu Koko, go second. If you go second, both of these Pokemon are going to be fully built your next turn, and then by then, use Electrical Cord. Use it on your active Pokemon, and then by then, after you get basically your active build, you want to get your Pikachu EX out and just start building him as fast as possible. And so yeah, paired with Electrical Cord, once your active Pokemon dies, feed this Pikachu EX, and then by then, hopefully they can just nuke your opponents. So pretty fun, very fast paced. We also have Giovanni here, just again, that 10 damage could definitely just win you the game. Guzma as well, Cyrus of course, Sabrina, Mars. In my opinion, there's going to be a lot of scenarios where Zeraora is definitely better than a baby Pokemon. Because again, keep in mind, babies are pretty cool. Yeah, they have free retreat, but the main downside is that 1, they're pretty frail, and 2, they don't do any damage. And there's gonna be a lot of scenarios where like you only use them once. So you're only getting value with them just one time, which I mean, you could very much do with Zeraora as well. Because again, looking at his ability at your end of your first turn, take a lightning energy from your energy zone and attach it to this Pokemon, essentially acting like a baby Pokemon, but this guy can attack. The main issue with this is that, of course, if you don't get him out your first turn, he's essentially useless. Oricorio counter. He can definitely counter Oricorio, so that's a huge dub. And you're running 2 of them, so there's pretty high chance that you will get him, hopefully. But yeah, very fun deck. Next tournament we're going to be going over is the Frog EX Weekly Cup. Yeah, last one was Secluded Spring. This one's the Weekly Cup. Player count of 264. This is the pie chart right here. Just kind of, yeah. Of course, Suicune, Darkrai. Very much expected. Arceus getting a little more playability. It's pretty good to see. Dragonite as well, just squeezing in at the 3.4%. Yeah. Rampardos as well, just freaking eyeing us down. Buzzwole, Guzzlord. This is top 51. Yep. Very much expected. Donphan 2%. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Dragonite got slowly phased out with that 3.4%. Pretty sad. And these are the top 8. Of course, Suicune dominance. Guzzlord as well. Interesting. Having a little bit of resurgence. I kind of want to make a deck showcase for Guzzlord yet again. I've been doing that a lot lately, and I feel like it's been kind of successful. Guzzlord is pretty old at this point, especially with how fast the meta moves. I feel like Guzzlord is kind of been quite a while since its release, so yeah. Darkrai EX, yep. Buzzwole as well. And speaking of Buzzwole, this is the Buzzwole deck right here. Very standard. I mean, yeah, this is not as much requirements. That's pretty good, because I mean, most of them do come from Extra Dimensional Crisis, of course. Looking at this, it's kind of a standard Buzzwole deck. I feel like Buzzwole EX decks haven't really evolved too much. Sure, I mean, there's variations with this where like they would run like 2 Pheromosas and then probably like 1 Kartana, or 2 Kartanas and 1 Pheromosa. Pheromosa is pretty good just targeting the bench, but Kartana is pretty good as well, just doing, I'm just gonna pull them up if you guys don't know. A good alternative. So if you don't have Pheromosa, you could also run Kartana in this deck. Yeah, 40 damage, so pretty decent. It's doing some good chip damage, and I feel like that works pretty well, especially with Buzzwole, because Buzzwole is only doing 120 damage, And sure, you could pair that with red, but depending on your opponent, I mean, that 40 damage could definitely help Buzzwole EX one-shot your opponent. So yeah, this is a deck right here. So for this deck, ideally, you do want to lead with Pheromosa. Basically, yeah, your first turn, feed Pheromosa 1 energy. Then after that, get your Buzzwole EX out, feed that guy 1. And then basically just leave it Pheromosa, just doing some chip damage. Once Pheromosa dies, Lusamine. And then by then, Buzzwole EX should be fully built, sub him in. And of course, this whole time, you should also have a Celesteela out. Now, if you guys don't know, if you look at Big Beat right here, as you can see, after attacking during your next turn, this Pokemon can't use Big Beat. However, there's a pretty easy way to bypass this. As you can see, Celesteela. Once during your turn, you may switch your active Ultra Beast with one of your bench Ultra Beasts. And this doesn't count as a retreat. Keep that in mind. You can do 1 retreat per turn. This is not a retreat. So you could, let's say you attack with Buzzwole EX. Your next turn, you have either Kartana or Pheromosa in your bench. Retreat from Buzzwole into either Pheromosa or Kartana. Then retreat that Pokemon, because keep in mind, both Kartana and Pheromosa only have 1 retreat cost. Sub Buzzwole EX back in, and that bypasses this condition. So yeah, a lot of talking. Hopefully that made sense. But yeah, this deck is pretty old, and I feel like it's very solid. Like, if you've used a Buzzwole EX deck, this deck hasn't really evolved too much. And of course, you have Red Card, Cyrus, Mars, just to mess up your opponent. Leaf Cape as well, getting pretty good value, getting up to 170 HP. And I feel like Leaf Cape is kind of crucial, because keep in mind, you kind of want to get at least 2 Pokemon in your bench. So 1 active and then 2 in your bench. I feel like that's the ideal setup. You could do 3, but in this meta, it is kind of dangerous because, again, Suicune, just look at him right here. Yeah, Suicune, pair with Greninja can do 140 damage. And of course, pairing with Red, you can do 160. So without Leaf Cape, there are going to be scenarios where Buzzwole EX can definitely get one-shotted. But overall, still a very nice deck to run. I just feel like in the current meta, it will be pretty harsh. Again, because Suicune dominance is pretty huge. So this guy can just target your bench just super hard. And yeah, if you're thinking of investing into a deck, I'd be kind of weary about this. Like, it's good, again. Don't get me wrong, it's very fun. But going against Suicune, I don't foresee fun at all. That's all I'm gonna say. But aside going against anyone else, maybe a little bit of a, I can see some stuff working out. But the next deck we have is a Guzzlord Celesteela deck. Interesting. This is a, what is this? A 17 trainer deck. Interesting. There's the requirements. Only 4 packs. That's pretty good. Oh yeah, this looks very interesting indeed. So Repel. First time seeing this in a while. So this guy is basically kind of like a mini Sabrina, only working against basic active Pokemon, which, I mean, you can see some pretty good value in this meta, especially with Suicune being as popular as that card is. Requires a bit of luck. Granted, you do have Will, but Guzzlord, this guy's a potential nightmare because of his first ability right here, Grindcore, only doing 30 damage. However, its attack ability is what makes this card kind of scary. So flip a coin until you get tails. For each heads, discard a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Basically, Team Rocket Grunt as a Pokemon. Yeah, you probably already know this, but I'm just reiterating this for people who are kind of new to the meta. Don't want to leave anyone out, but yeah, this guy, very scary. So you want to lead with this guy, and I guess, yeah, Celesteela does a little bit support if you're about to die, I guess, or as well to nuke. Celesteela is pretty good with Moonbaton. Granted, you have to get heads to do 100 damage. If you go against Oricorio, you might be stuck at a stalemate, depending on the game. I can very much see that because Guzzlord EX can attack Oricorio. However, Grindcore can definitely make it so that guy can't attack. And to counteract that, if you do get into a stalemate, a couple turns later, get Celesteela fed, and then hopefully you can one-shot that Nightmare Bird. Yeah, this deck has Will, of course, is giving you extra just luck. Because again, this guy basically guarantees heads for your coin flip. But yeah, this deck feels like a troll deck. It's still pretty... He made it to top 4 with this. And it requires a lot of RNG. Gosh, dude, I feel like this is a nightmare to go up against. We might be using this at the end of the video. I might use this in rank to see how it performs. Because, yeah, this is a 17 trainer deck. Guzzlord is just a nightmare to go up against. I mean, granted, it is all RNG. But there is Will. 2 Wills. But at the same time, I mean, if you don't get Wills, then yeah, your opponent can just keep on getting Tails. But yeah, last tournament we're going to be going over is the Pocket Mads Pocket Tournament. 452 players. And looking at this, yeah, Suicune, Darkrai, Guzzlord. Very much expected at this point. Yeah, same thing. Top 8, Suicune. Yeah, this is how it usually is for top 8. Usually more diverse like this, in a sense. I mean, of course, Suicune is still pretty dominating, but looking at the first one, like... What the heck is this? Yeah, 5. Holy crap. First deck. This is... I think this is a different person. This deck was made by Prior, whereas in this deck, made by Nabugu. Switches it up a little bit, I think. Okay. Last deck had 2 Wills. I think last deck only had one PC Lady, so yeah, very straightforward. I feel like the playstyle is still pretty the same as the previous deck. The cards have switched a little bit. PC Lady, 2 PC Ladies instead of 1 PC Lady. But yeah, not really gonna go in depth again because we literally just went over this. Yep, this is the requirements. Next deck, oh my gosh. I actually might make a deck showcase of this specifically because Dragonite, man, hands down one of my favorite Pokemon. Just really love this guy's aesthetic. Remember seeing him just get this head slammed in the first Pokemon movie by Jesse's Pan. Pretty cool. I wanted to be like him when I grew up. And then when I grew up, I didn't become him, so I'm depressed. But yeah, anyways, this is the requirements. Looking at this, very standard. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack with this. So this guy is only running only water, so to get the lightning energy, you need to basically count on Pichu performing. Yeah, for this deck, Sylveon, of course, is just pretty much acting as a professor's research, but as Pokemon, in Pokemon form, pretty much, yeah. Lyra as well is easy to retreat, so it's pretty good, because I feel like, depending on the scenario, you're probably either leading with Sylveon EX or Dratini, depending on RNG, yeah, and I feel like you ideally want to have Pichu out your first turn, and then feed your Dratini. But keep in mind, for Pichu, I feel like a lot of people might make this mistake, but I've seen this in ranked. Pichu's ability right here, take a lightning energy from Energy Zone, attach it to one of your benched basic Pokemon. So keep in mind, Pichu cannot feed energy to Dragonite EX or Dragonite. Oh yeah, this deck is also running Dragonite. This card, a very RNG dependent, Draco Meteor. One of your opponent's Pokemon is chosen at random 4 times. For each time a Pokemon was chosen, do 50 damage to it. AoE damage, 4 energy. So it requires a bit of build up. A lot more than this Dragonite. But what's pretty cool is that towards the middle to late game, you might get some pretty good value with Pichu. Because I mean, looking at Dragonite, after attacking, yeah, he does 180 damage. But after attacking, during your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. So very similar to Buzzwole EX. And guess what? Let's say you're leading with this guy. Yeah, he attacks. He takes some damage from your opponent's active Pokemon. Next turn, if you have a Pichu in your bench, you could use Lyra. As you can see, Lyra, switch your active Pokemon that has damage on it with one of your bench Pokemon. So switch Dragonite with Pichu. And then after that, you could retreat out of Pichu, sub in Dragonite yet again. Very similar to Buzzwole EX again. And then given that, Dragonite can attack yet again. So yeah, 180 damage twice. That's pretty good. Really also keep in mind, you don't really need Pichu though. You don't necessarily need Pichu to be in your bench. You can also have Sylveon, just feed Sylveon 1 energy, retreat. But with Pichu, you can just maximize your energy. So you can start feeding another Dragonite. Overall, very fun, interesting deck. I might actually, yeah, I might make a deck showcase with Dragonite. Just he's so cool, man. I just need to bring him back. Upon his release, he wasn't really that great, but then now he's getting a little bit more viability. Next deck we're gonna be going over is a Raichu EX deck. I made a deck showcase with this deck before. Very fun deck, especially paired with Magnezone, Magneton, Magnemite. You're getting energy with this deck very fast, especially with Magneton. And also going first, you could, there's a combo, there's a strat where like you can attack with Raichu EX your second turn. So keep that in mind. You go first, your second turn, you can attack with Raichu. You get 2 energy. Granted, that is pretty rare because you do, to do that combo, you need 1 Magnemite, at least 1 Magnemite, at least 1 Magneton, at least 1 Elemental Switch, and of course Raichu EX in your active. But again, keep in mind, Raiku's ability, very good with drawing cards. Yeah, so for this deck, ideally, you do want to lead with Raichu EX. Once he dies or is about to die, sub in Magnezone and just start bombarding your opponent with this nightmare. Yeah, the magnet area Pokemon. He's basically Magneto. Yeah, Magneto in Pokemon form just has that same aura, same nightmare. And yeah, speaking of nightmare, we have Oricorio as well. And yeah, this deck is very straightforward. Also with Raiku's attack, keep in mind, after attacking, you do 10 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Not as much. I feel like they could have definitely upped the damage a little bit more. With that being said, you can definitely pair that with Cyrus. And you can just mess up your opponent by then. Yeah. So you have 2 Cyruses. So you can just definitely, not doing much damage, but still kind of either forcing your opponent to either use a potion or some kind of healing ability onto their bench Pokemon, just to counteract what you're cooking. Also keep in mind, if you attack a baby Pokemon, although it's only 10 damage, you are doing 33% of that baby Pokemon's health. So there's something to note with that, I guess. So if you attack 3 times with Raikou, then you can just one-shot that baby. Pretty good. And yeah, very fast-paced deck. Again, it's an electric type deck. Ideally, you just want to be super fast with your damage, messing up your opponent. And that's very good, especially paired with Cyrus. Last deck we're going to be going over is the Flareon EX, Sylveon EX, and Eevee EX deck. Yeah, so looking at this deck, you want to get... Okay, we have 2 Flareons. That's pretty good. This guy, very old. They definitely should make this a shiny, if anything, because I mean, if you want to run this deck, you gotta summon at like in a very like almost a year old booster set, which is pretty unfortunate because I mean, yeah, with the influx of booster packs and stuff, it's very hard to like, especially as a new player, to get into and be like, okay, which one should I summon on? Flareon, pretty decent damage. Flamethrower requires 3 energy, does 110 damage. After attacking, discard a fire energy from this Pokemon. So this is a pretty good pairing, especially with this Flareon, because as you can see, for its ability, this guy's able to attach fire energy from your discard pile. Granted, you do take 20 damage, but again, EV Bag, just healing that damage up. We also have Magby. So for this deck, you're basically counting on Flareon EX to get built as fast as possible. And it's kind of leading with him, so pretty good overall. I really do like this. I feel like the dream setup is to get 2 Flareon EXs out. So get 2 of them out. Magby, yeah, getting a bit of value towards the early game, eventually subbing him out into Flareon EX. Flareon EX leads, and keep in mind, every time he's attacking, he discards 2 energy. So he can use his combustibility, attaching 1 energy to himself. And if you have another Flareon EX in the back, you can start getting that guy built as well. So that's pretty good. I feel like pretty good synergy with himself, so that's very much expected. And with red paired with EV Bag, you can do plus 40 damage, so you can ultimately do 170, 190 if you have tap advantage. So damn, yeah, dude, Buzzwole, I've done this before in previous deck showcases, but Buzzwole EX is screwed. If you go up against him, yeah, he is definitely screwed even with Giant Cape. There's no surviving that. Repel as well, essentially being, yeah, Sabrina in this meta, especially because of the dominance of basic EXs and just basic cards in general. And yeah, that's a weekly meta report. And to end this video off, I'm going to be using this deck. Yeah, this deck in ranked, and we shall see how it performs. All right, here we are in ranked. Oh boy. Okay, we are going as fire. All right, here we are in ranked. Perfect. Leading with Guzzlord. And we have Will as well, so we can just start messing him up. This is pretty good. Okay, very straightforward. Rocky Helmet. Looks like he's playing a Donphan / Rampardos deck with EVs. So yeah, for now, just Guzzlord, feed Guzzlord, end our turn. And we're just chilling like this pretty much. We're just chilling with Guzzlord's ability. Next turn, we can definitely Will. But depending on what he plays, yeah, he plays Sylveon, we might hold off on Will. So yeah, he does evolve into Sylveon EX. Oh, of course, that. He feeds EV, yeah. Makes a bit of sense. And this is pretty good because we can... Yeah, for now, I might hold off on Will. At this point, we won't really get as much value. But yeah, we're just gonna do this. Sure, hopefully I can get a Mars or a red card, because we do have those both cards in our deck. If you can get those, it'll be pretty huge. So for now, we just do that. Look at that. That's why we don't need Will, because I believe in the coin flip. Oh gosh, Rampardos. Okay, yeah, I feel like this might be like one of the worst matchups to go up against. Because, okay, Eevee getting a bit of value. But Rampardos is doing 130 damage. Yeah, this is pretty rough. Okay. Might as well feed Celesteela. I'm gonna play like this, yeah. So I'm just gonna feed Guzzlord. Looking at our hand. Interesting. So keep in mind, Will also works against Celesteela. Because, yeah, of course, Moobaton requires a coin flip. So you could that can definitely be your win condition. Very much. For now, I feel like all we could really do is Grindcore. One-shotting this Eevee. Next turn, he's probably gonna sub in Rampardos. And... Alright, yeah, doesn't matter. But this is kind of... It's good and bad, because we can definitely kill Rampardos in a couple of turns, but the main downside is that we're both going to be at 2 points, pretty much. But I'm going to be down in EX, so he can start building another Rampardos. That's going to be nightmare, but yeah, not able to one-shot. Next turn, let's see, he's going to be at 130. Very awkward damage number, HP number, because we are doing 120. So yeah, at this point, I might as well play it like this. Okay, yeah. Yeah, this is fine. Might as well do this, yeah. So, Grindcore, Tyrannical Hole. Yeah, he's going to be very low. He's pretty much going to be 1... So if he kills his Guzzlord, he's pretty much losing that Rampardos. He could still win if he can get that Rampardos out. I feel like that's the only card that can really save him. He does Sabrina. Okay. Okay, yeah, doing a lot of damage, but it's okay. It's fine. We do have potions, keep in mind. PC Lady as well. So for this guy, for one thing, of course, you want to sub this Guzzlord back in, and this is pretty good. At this point, we might as well start healing this guy in the bench. Just at this point, it doesn't matter what I do. I could use Grindcore, and the reason why I didn't sub in, I could have subbed in Celesteela, but he would have gotten a point, and that will be a huge liability, especially since this this Guzzlord is already low. So not allowing him to get 1 point is pretty big. Looks like it might. Oh damn! It still might be GG. I'm trying to think about this. Actually. Damn, we might have lost. Actually, we shall see. This might be a tie. This is actually... Okay, yeah, this is very interesting. We do get Lucamines, of course, so might as well do that. This Guzzlord is fully built. And again, very awkward damage number. That 130 is so awkward because at this point, I kind of have to try Knuckle Hole, yeah. He does Lily. Damn. Never mind, he won. Okay, this is pretty rough, man. Yeah, this... It kind of shows the potential for this deck. Like, there's a lot of potential, yeah. Depending on your opponent's deck, they can definitely just hard counter you. I feel like this deck kind of does, especially with Rampardos being a 1 energy card. Not really getting as much value with Grindcore as you can see. And yeah, that's basically the weekly tournament report. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys found this informative as well as a bit entertaining. I tried to be. Voice is slowly fading away, but yeah, with that being said, consider liking and subscribing so you don't miss out on Pokemon Pocket content. And with that being said, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.